territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Hello, Mack Pack. It's great to be back with you again. My name is Mack Worley, and this is On the Move. This is a show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. Today, I think it's important that we just cut right into it. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news, a lot of different articles I want to get to, and I'm kind of pressed for time today. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do a full show, but I'm going to do what I can for you guys today. I got some other things that are going on. Many of you know and are aware now that we are planning a move, and I'm actually moving, back to the Midwest. And big long story as to why I can, I explained it last week, but I'll just do it again here. My wife and I were planning on having kids soon. We're not, We're not pregnant or anything right now, but we're looking to start a family. So with that in mind, we want to be closer to the vast majority of both of our families who live in the Midwest. And with that said, we're planning to move. We're still going to continue doing the show. Everything's going to be business as usual, especially once we get to where we're going. But we got a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this whole thing. So, for me, I'm pretty strapped for time right now. Things are crazy. As usual. And by the way, before I forget, I want to invite you all out to a tax day protest that is going on the 15th. This will be my last event that I'm going to be able to attend until we move. So if any of you would like to go there and hang out with me, see me there, that'd be great. I'm actually going to be speaking at this event. Anyway, it's April 15th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Washington State Capitol in Olympia, Washington. 98504 is the zip code there. And basically, here I'll read you the event description here. Join us on the Capitol building north steps to oppose ever-increasing taxes. Make your voice heard. Bring signs, passion, and action. There will be several speakers. There's going to be C. Michael Pickens of the Libertarian Party. He's the Washington chairman. Stephen Nielsen will also be there. He's the Washington secretary. I think Michelle Darnell, Matthew Shea, Graham Hunt, Elizabeth Scott, David Taylor, Jesse Young, Daniel G. Griffey, Travis Couture, Stephen Owens, Steve Sarek, Scott Roberts, Rick Halley, Stephen Pidgeon, and lots of other people, obviously myself here. So anyway, this event is sponsored by the Libertarian Party of Washington, the Thurston County Libertarian Party, Pierce County Libertarian Party, and Mason County Libertarian Party. Co-sponsors for the event are Washington for America Initiative, Tacoma Narrows Tea Party, and Tacoma 912. So, first of all, I would like to invite you all to this event. There's going to be quite a few people that are there. I'm excited about it just to get the opportunity to see you guys again, rub shoulders with everybody, and see everybody's speeches. This is going to be, these are the kind of things that I really enjoy. So, just going out and actually meeting you guys and spending time with other passionate patriots. So, feel free to go to this. I will be there, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, moving forward here, I just want to cover some stuff here that is in the news before we get to some of the other main topics at hand. And just to give you guys a heads up, first of all, today is April 12th, 2015, and today's show title is Hillary Clinton Announcement and Analysis, Iran and ISIS, episode 68 of our program here. And for those of you on Haywire Gulch as well, and by the way, everyone out in listener land there, Haywire Gulch is a website that we simulcast on. It's actually a community of people. Many of them are preppers, and I think they're just really cool people, nice patriots, and I think you guys would like them too. So first of all, I just want to say, if you haven't already, go to haywiregulch.com, and then you can also go to their Facebook group, which here, I'll get you the actual direct link for it here. It's Haywire Gulch Athletic Club, but the actual address is facebook.com/groups/Haywire Gulch AC. So in there, they post a lot of good stories. You'll notice instantly that they're a pretty tight-knit community. So I really like these guys. I think you will too. You should go check them out. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff. I got a ton of articles here sitting on it, but before we get into the Hillary stuff, before we get into the Iran nuclear deal and my thoughts on how to respond to ISIS, and in my opinion, just terrorists in general, and by the way, I'm open to suggestions on this. You know, for me, I'm just giving you my thoughts, my analysis. You guys are welcome to disagree with me, and I suggest that you voice your opinion if you do disagree with me. You can do that several different ways. You can call us 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. Or you can email us at talk@onthemoveshow.com. Or you can find us on facebook.com/onthemoveshow. Send us a message on there. You can tweet us at OnTheMoveShow. However you want to do it, it's fine. We'll have a conversation. We'll engage. And we'll go from there, see where we can come to. But if you disagree with me, if you want to have your voice be heard, this is the best way to do it. Give us a call, 360-450-5625. We'll have a debate on the air. We'll talk about it. Everything will be calm, rational, good to go. And also, don't forget to check us out at our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. You can subscribe or follow us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. Like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Subscribe to us on YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And follow us on Twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow. All right. So, last week we talked about all sorts of stuff. This week, I found an article that it's kind of going against normal conventions, things that I wouldn't expect to see in the news. One thing I have been realizing recently is that scientists, they really don't know what they're doing. You know, not that I know what I'm doing. I am by no means qualified to make scientific proclamations. But apparently neither are these people, because they tell us one week that, eating eggs, especially egg yolks, because it has cholesterol, that's terrible for us. And then as time goes by, we find out that it's actually not terrible. The recent articles have been saying that as well. Apparently there's been no link to actual cholesterol in your body, according to recent studies, with the dietary cholesterol that we eat. So that's an interesting story, but this is not what I actually wanted to talk about here. There's an article on the dailymail.co.uk, and it says they're essentially creating a new class of food addicts, or so to speak. I guess it's a eating disorder, kind of like anorexia, that kind of thing. It's called orthorexia nervosa. It's the healthy food eating disorder. And it gets the name from the Greek word ortho, meaning straight, proper, or correct. This exaggerated focus on food can be seen today in some people who follow lifestyle movements such as raw foods, clean foods, or paleo foods, food diets. Now, this story for me, and maybe it's not really a particularly interesting story to everyone else, but for me, this one kind of hits home. First of all, I actually eat clean, and I try to eat healthy. I work out. I try to take care of myself. For me, this whole thing stemmed because, I was injured several times. I had a lot of injuries in the last few years, and for most of my life, my adult life, I had always been like, the physically fit person. I've always been in sports. I've always been doing things like that. But then in 2008, I got injured and injured again and injured again. It just seemed like it was a never-ending series of injuries. So I wanted to be fit again. I wanted to be strong, and I was tired of feeling like the broken guy who couldn't even lift anything at all. So I got back in the gym and I started working around my injuries that I have, and I'm just really focused on not fitness, so to speak, but just being stronger and being able to do things again. That's why I'm in the gym. But anyway, so diet goes with that, and food obviously is part of the diet. So anyway, I try to eat clean, and I think it's kind of interesting that now they're coming up with new kind of eating disorders for people that are eating healthy, And it's an American doctor named Stephen Bratman. He coined the term in 1997, sometime after his experience in a commune in upstate New York. It was there he developed an unhealthy obsession with eating proper food. All I could do is think about the food, he said. And let's see, but when I became aware that my scrabbling in the dirt after raw vegetables and wild plants had become an obsession, I found it terribly difficult to free myself. I had been seduced by righteous eating. I don't think that this is a disorder. I don't think this is a mental illness, or so to speak. I find it. I mean, I know some of these people out here, they take it to extremes, like, people on diets where they don't eat gluten and they have no kind of gluten allergy and they don't really know what gluten is, and I don't think that is necessarily a eating disorder. I think you're just eating and following trends. You're trendy or something. But for me, this is not something that I think needs to be addressed. I think there are some very good benefits to eating healthy and trying to control your diet. But some people can always take things to the extreme. So, and just like I think this is kind of taking it to the extreme about healthy eating. But I digress. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. Nothing really, no real analysis to go with this. I just thought I would bring it up because, we're told one day by scientists that, this is good for you, that's bad for you, and then suddenly it's reversed. Everything's upside down. They did that with eggs. They're doing that with cholesterol. They're doing that with all sorts of other stuff. One of these days, I'll actually go through and accumulate all of these things that they've done, such as like the Big Bang Theory. They've been saying that's discredited now. Which, how do you know what to believe by these scientists? They base their information off of guesses, and then they simulate models, computer models, for a lot of these things, like such as global warming. That's another great one. All right, global warming, then it's climate change, climate weirding, all these other things. They don't have all the data. They don't have all the information to plug into these computer models. So what they do is they guess, and then their guesses are wrong many times. So the information that they put in to project things 50 years in the future, it's all based on guesses, guessed information that they couldn't possibly know, so they had to fill it in. And they want us to believe that these computer models are real, but yet the information they used was a guess. So anyway, I don't really put a whole lot of stock in what scientists have to say, especially on theories. But these are things that are happening now, so I just figured I'd mention it. Anywho, we have some other articles here I'm going to get to here. Give me 1 second. I'll bring them up. So first of all, I want to. This article kind of correlates to a story that we talked about a while ago involving Gavin Syme. Now, many of you know about Gavin's quest out here in Washington to go after police officers who are ticketing people in unmarked cars. So he had that one video where he pulled over a police officer and basically told him that he was in violation of the law because it is illegal for them to actually use these unmarked police vehicles to pull over a car, unless it's in some kind of undercover capacity, not for traffic violations of those kind of things. So anyway, there was a woman. This is a article on NWITimes.com, and let me see if I can find the author of this. This was March 31st, 2015. Author is Bob Casarda. Yeah, Bob Casarda. So anyway, this woman, she was driving, and she did not immediately pull over when there were flashing lights behind her. She's a 52-year-old woman. She was traveling alone at 11:21 p.m. on a dark country road. She said she was concerned about her safety. Assuming the car behind her was a police officer, Good said she slowed her vehicle, put on her emergency flashers, waved her arm out the window to acknowledge the pursuing car, and continued for less than a mile, where she pulled over into a lighted parking lot area of Kohl's department store in Portage. The decision not to immediately stop resulted in her being handcuffed and taken to jail by Porter County Sheriff's Department patrolman William Marshall on felony charges of resisting arrest. It may also cost her job because a nurse cannot work after being convicted of a felony, she said. I didn't feel I did anything wrong, she said. Good said. I got to a safe place, and I told him that. Porter County Sheriff spokesman Sergeant Larry LaFlower said the Sheriff's Office supports our officer's decision in this matter. He cited state law requiring motorists to yield to emergency vehicles and said Marshall was driving a fully marked squad car and used lights and sirens. So, yes. First of all, it was a marked car. It did have lights and sirens. But in regard to that, it doesn't really relate to the Gavin Syme issue. However, the reason why it is an issue for people to pull over pull over cars using unmarked police vehicles or law enforcement vehicles is because of safety. You don't know if that person behind you is in fact a police officer or somebody who just so happened to put a light bar on top of their car, or one of those little light globe things that spin around and make it look like there is one. So, and those things are you can buy those. It's not impossible to buy. So the issue is safety. We don't want our wives, our children to get pulled over by some kind of predator and something bad happen. So for that is an obvious concern, and obviously anyone can assume that if this woman pulled over in a lighted area, she didn't try to get away, she put on her hazard, she acknowledged, she went less than a mile, and she wanted to get to a safe area. I personally don't blame her, and I don't think that this is right. I think this is wrong. I think that especially with these felony charges, this to me is a huge deal in our country. We are becoming more and more apathetic to our prison populations. The prison population is swelling to unbelievably high numbers. There are so many felons in this country. It is astounding. Now, it's easy to just shrug it off and say, okay, it's a felon, no big deal. Why should I give a crap about a felon? All right. This woman was charged with felony resisting arrest because she drove to a lighted, safe area, did not exceed the speed limit, did not try to resist, really. I mean, that's the definition, resisting arrest. So she wasn't trying to resist. She was trying to get to a safe place. She did not know who that person was behind her. She had no idea if that was a legitimate police officer. And that is the concern here. She could have been pulled over in the middle of nowhere, dark, unsafe. She took some precautions. And, it's often said that this is a very common saying, especially in law enforcement or, even just among gun owners, where they say, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And it's one of those things where, you put your safety and the safety of your family above any potential consequences. And that's what she did. I believe she did the right thing. I mean, it could have been a different scenario. It could have been a bad guy behind her, and no one would be blaming this woman if she would have pulled over into a safe area and it was a bad guy behind her. No one would have had any negative words to her. She would have actually been smart. She would have been complimented on how smart she was and how she messed up the plan of this bad guy by doing this. But since the situation is reversed, she's being targeted. And I find this to be very disappointing because we are so apathetic about prisoners. Just as a society, we don't care. But the fact is that they're expanding what a felon is to be not even anything that requires a victim. A victim. That's the definition of a crime, in my opinion, anyway. It has to have a victim. So the whole idea, the whole concept that this woman could be facing felony charges for resisting arrest when first of all, she didn't resist anything, and she literally was in compliance, maybe not immediately, but she was in compliance and made it clear gestures, put on flashing lights to show I am in compliance with you. Just work with me here. I'm doing something. Maybe the officer didn't know what was going on, but he clearly knew something was happening. She wasn't trying to make an escape and get away. So the fact is, though, is that with the war on drugs, with taxes, with so many different small things that have no victims, that the nanny state demands your compliance with, it's now a felony. All of these things. We are lowering the bar so far of what a felon is. Eventually, we will all be felons. And it's sad enough as it is that is where we're at. But look at it like this. This woman, she's not able to get a job if she's a felon in her field. She's got an education. She spent time doing this. Spent money, obviously, to become a nurse. She couldn't do that if she's a felon. So not only can you not do certain jobs as a felon, because our felons are allowed to be discriminated against. Our felons are allowed to be discriminated against, which I think is a problem in and of itself. However, there's more things that come with that felony conviction. It's you are less of a citizen. You're not allowed to vote. You're not allowed to own a gun. Oh, how convenient. If the government makes all of us felons, that pesky Second Amendment thing, it just goes away. You don't have to worry about it so much. And I've talked in the past about how, police departments try to deactivate activists. It's what happened to me. I have become a deactivated activist for now until I'm not in this kind of limbo, this prosecutorial limbo that I'm in right now, where I have 365 days or 364 days of a conviction hanging over my head suspended. So I was found guilty of a crime that I did not commit, displaying a weapon, when I was open carrying in an open carry state. It's completely lawful. In fact, it was in the jury instructions during my trial that the mere open carrying of a semi-automatic rifle in public is not illegal. That was in their jury instructions, as well as the law, and they completely disregarded. They decided to convict me based on their emotional feelings. It's my only guess is their emotions that maybe somebody got their feelings hurt, though no laws were broken. And that's just not the way the system is supposed to work, first of all. But regardless, now I'm convicted. I had to pay a bunch of money. And luckily for me, my conviction, my sentence was suspended for 364 days. But my conviction was 364 days in jail. So if I get in trouble within 1 year, it's suspended for a year. If I get in trouble at any point during that year, I go to jail again. So they have deactivated an activist. I was out being an activist, and now I can't, because if I do the same thing that I did before, which was not illegal, and everybody who testified that I had done no conduct, myself, that was threatening. I had no conduct that was threatening. I was being polite. I was talking to people. Everybody who testified said the same things, more or less. So no one said that I was out threatening anyone. The only thing that they were threatened by was the presence of a firearm, which is an inanimate object. This object does not move. It can't conduct itself. So if I'm not conducting myself in a threatening manner, neither is my gun, because objects can't conduct themselves. So, point being, everybody is one day going to be a felon. The way it is, they can arrest you for no reason. You are a troublemaker. Oh, okay, we'll arrest you. We're going to put some charges up against you. We're going to throw so many charges at you that you will either, maybe you'll have to beat it. Maybe you'll beat these charges, and we'll go through all this court battle and just basically try to punish you that way. Or one of these will stick. Or maybe you'll get so paranoid that one of these may stick that you'll cut a deal with us. They tried to do that with me. They tried to get me to cut a deal. I wasn't going to cut a deal. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to fight this thing all the way through. That's where I stand. But this happens all over the country. This woman may end up making a deal because she doesn't want to get a felony charge of resisting arrest for trying to get to a safe place. This is the thing that really bothers me the most about this, is that officers nowadays, they continue to use the excuse of officer safety for practically every violation of your rights that they do. You know what? You're recording a video. You're recording a video of me, making a stop. I'm performing official duties as a police officer, and you're recording a video of me, and somehow I'm going to say that that's going to violate my safety, so I'm going to take away your camera. I'm going to tell you to shut off your camera. I'm going to take it away. Officer safety. How is that affecting your safety as an officer at all? It's not. It's a camera. We have a right to record public officials in the performance of their duties. And moreover, there is no expectation of privacy in a public area. So, those two things together, that means that we have every right to record police officers performing their duties. But it is okay for them to violate our rights, officer safety. See, they worry about their safety, but when we worry about ours, no. They look at us as the servants instead of the other way around. We need to bend the knee. We need to comply with them. And not all police, not all government officials even are like this. But the ones that are oath breakers, the ones that do not respect the oath that they took to the Constitution or maybe even understand it, those are the ones that expect us to bend the knee. Those are the ones that think that we don't have these rights, and that when we try to assert them, oh, we're one of those guys. Oh, we're one of these constitutionalists that we're told that possibly is a terrorist, right? Because that's what we need to worry about is people who are worried about their rights being deteriorated. Oh, 1 second here. Got some noise happening on my phone. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so anyway, those are the people that they're worried about is people who are worried about the Constitution. They're worried about people who are respectful of the rights of others. They can use the excuse of officer safety, but if we're worried about our safety or our rights, suddenly we're the problem. And we need to be made an example of. We need to be deactivated if we're activists. But again, it all stems from the way that we treat our prisoners. If we did not allow our prisoners to be discriminated against for having felonies, especially felonies that are non-violent, where there was no victim, such as this situation, this woman is clearly who was the victim? I want to ask you guys this question. This woman was driving her vehicle. She waited a mile. It was less than a mile to pull over. She put on her flashers. She slowed her vehicle. She waved her arms out the window to acknowledge the pursuing car and continued for less than a mile, where she pulled over into a lighted parking lot. Obviously, she was making attempts to convey, hey, I am acknowledging you are there. I will stop. But she was getting to the right spot, the safest area she could find in the quickest amount of time possible. So who was the victim? I ask you, who was the victim? Was it the police officer? The police officer was the victim? No. And it says resisting arrest. Did she hit him? I see no information in here in the article about her hitting him. I see no information of her getting out of her car and trying to run away, him having to tackle her. Any of these things. None of these things happened. So where was the victim? That is a requirement for it to be a crime, in my personal opinion. At least it should be. If you have deprived someone of their rights or hurt others, you've committed a crime. No victim, no crime. That's simple as far as I'm concerned. So, did she deprive the officer of rights? Did she hurt the officer? Obviously the answer is no. Well, who else was hurt? The only person I see being hurt is this woman. She's being taken advantage of by these police officers, throwing trumped-up charges, hoping that one of these will stick. Maybe she'll make a deal. The decision to prosecute is the decision to destroy. That is what they are doing. Every time that they decide that they want to go after you, they are deciding that they want to make, number one, an example of you, and to destroy everything that you stand for. And I mean everything. They will go after you on if they decide that they want to make an example of you, they will try their hardest to do that. So it's something to be concerned about. I often get upset when I hear about these kind of things, because it is really frustrating that people can't use, and I hate to use this word, common sense. I used to love the word common sense, or words, common sense, because, I thought of it, I likened it back to like Thomas Paine, the common sense. That's what I thought of when I said common sense. But these officers, they can't use common sense anymore, no. Because, common sense, first of all, the term has been hijacked. Now it means gun control, means statism. It's been coined by the liberals now, which, again, even the word liberal, they stole. It used to mean liberty. That was the actual root of the word liberty. They took that word too. They keep taking our words and making it their own. It's psychological. But it's very frustrating that these officers cannot use common sense. If I was this Porter County Sheriff's Department patrolman, his name is William Marshall, I would be embarrassed of myself, first of all, because it is so easy to imagine your wife or your daughter in this same exact situation. Have any of you been pulled over at night, by the way? Have you tried to look back at the car behind you with their bright lights flashing in your face? You can't see any of the markings on the vehicle at night. At least I have never been able to. Can't see it in my rear view window, can't see it on my side windows. There's too much light blinding me in my eyes. So how do I know that this is an actual marked police vehicle behind me and not just somebody with a bunch of bright lights? How do I know? I don't. So the fact that I'm pulling over, I am taking a risk that I could be getting pulled over by some kind of predator. And it's bad enough when it's me. You know, it's bad enough that I would be in that situation. But to imagine my daughter, my wife, my mother, my grandmother, any of the women in my life, I would be very upset to think that they could not pull over in a safe area. The officer would arrest them on felony charges of resisting arrest if they just attempted to take a little precautions. And he couldn't use the common freaking sense and decency to put himself in her shoes. Anyway, this situation really frustrates me. I don't know what you guys have to say about it, but anyway, if you would like to give us your opinion, give us an email, talk@onthemoveshow.com, or you can message us on facebook.com/onthemoveshow, or hit us up on Twitter @onthemoveshow. Also, you can give us a call, 360-450-5625. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton and her new campaign. She's made some announcements to run for president. So you guys don't want to go anywhere. We're going to give some analysis on this and deep dive into some of the problems she's going to run into as president, and just give you some of my general thoughts on it. Anyway, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. But now your host, Mack Worley III.
Hello. Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, my name is Mack Worley III, and this is On the Move, the show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. First and foremost, we talked about a couple of different things. We had a woman who was pulled over by a police officer. She was trying to get to a safe area to pull over into a lighted parking lot, and she was charged with felony resisting arrest. And apparently the sheriff department actually supports the decision of an officer to make that. So, I think that's pretty messed up. But, yeah, I'd like to hear from you guys on the matter. Anyway, so I got a couple articles here I want to get to. And first and foremost, if you guys have not heard, Hillary Clinton is running for president. She's actually officially announced now. She's actually, finally released that information. We already knew she was going to run, but now she finally tells us. And I've mentioned before how annoying it is for me personally, the whole concept of, I don't know if I'm going to run. I'm just going to wait and see what my audience says, or I guess, his constituency, her constituency, depending on who we're talking about. I hate this whole faking that you're a reluctant presidential candidate. I hate it. And it's been perpetuated, and unfortunately, we have George Washington to blame. He was a reluctant president. He was the reluctant president, and in my opinion, the only reluctant president. He was thrust into this position of power. He was put there because the country needed him. He was the indispensable man. He was the only man that could be trusted to bring this country together because he gave up his power after the Revolutionary War. And just having him on board showed everyone else that, hey, this isn't about a power grab. We're putting the guy in charge who gave up his power. So you can trust him because he already gave up his power. So anyway, and then it was perpetuated forth from all these other, quote, reluctant politicians who, I guess Adams maybe was the reluctant politician. I guess he tried to follow through George Washington's footsteps in the matter, and a lot of his campaign, his presidency was like that as well. He was one of those people who were trying to avoid getting into a party, try to stay out of the party politics. But I would say the case for Adams is shaky regarding that, and regarding Jefferson, absolutely, he was not a reluctant politician. He wanted people to think he was, but he wasn't. He was secretly, having other people conduct his campaign for him, such as James Madison and things like that, and kind of backstab John Adams. That's a little bit of the history behind this reluctant politician thing, but they are not George Washington. George Washington wanted to be a farmer. He wanted to be a farmer, and he was good at it. But his country called him up. That's not what we see in our political landscape nowadays. We see politicians who know good and well they're going to run for president. We know that they want power, and these are the kind of people that want power, so they shouldn't get it. I think we should elect politicians that absolutely don't want the job. People who have no desire whatsoever to have that job. They want to do something else. We should force them to do it for several years at a time. That's what I think, because that's the only way that we'll get good things done. People who don't want that power. But again, I'm against forcing people to do anything they don't want to do. So, but it's one of those things, man. That's really frustrating. So for me, we already knew that Hillary Clinton was going to run. It was a foregone conclusion, just like it was a foregone conclusion in 2008, and then suddenly Barack Obama popped on the scene. And we're told that, okay, it's Hillary's turn. It's Hillary's turn. She's gonna get it this time. It's finally her turn. Poor Hillary Clinton. Well, I've got a lot of stuff I want to say about this, but let's start out here with a few things, a few articles. Daily Mail, we got an article here about Hillary finally entering her formal bid to be the president, and she has a video telling middle-class voters the deck is stacked in favor of those at the top. So this is coming from Hillary, one of the richest people, in our country right now, and a Clinton. She's basically a formal member of the American royalty here. We've got the Clintons, we've got the Bushes. We just keep going back and forth between these. We're being told that Jeb is the front runner for the Republican Party, which is a hilarious joke that has no punchline. Nobody believes in Jeb Bush. Do you believe in Jeb Bush? I don't. I have yet to meet one Jeb Bush fanatical supporter. Not even one. So if you're out there, please call me, tell me, at least set the record straight. If there's somebody out there that actually believes in Jeb Bush, the number of the show is 360-450-5625. I don't believe that Jeb Bush has what it takes, first of all, to win the presidency. What he is Democrat light. And because of that, people will, number one, not come out to vote. on the Republican side. The actual people who have the passion, the people who care, the people who are going to make a difference in a Republican GOP election. I don't believe that Jeb has what it takes. I don't care how much money he has behind him. If Jeb is running, I will not be voting for a Republican. Period. I will, and if it's against Hillary, there's no way I can vote for Hillary either. So I'll be left with Gary Johnson if he decides to run. That's where I stand. But I'd love to vote for a Ted Cruz right now. Right now, I would love to vote for a Ted Cruz. I don't know who I'd want him to run with. I really don't like the kind of deals that are being made on Rand Paul's side. I'm not really a big Rand Paul supporter. I don't like his endorsements for Mitch McConnell. I think that the idea that he is trying to placate to the Republican Party, the GOP establishments. We're told several things about him. Is that he's a libertarian? Well, I honestly don't really believe that he's a libertarian, especially considering some of the policies that he's been endorsing, like the drones use on American soil. He actually helped pass a bill for that, so I'm not a big supporter of that. And I think that there's just a lot of problems with somebody who's willing to sacrifice their principles to gain political office or to gain a little more clout. The one thing that I liked about Rand Paul was that he was willing to stand up, and the drone conversation for me is interesting, especially when you're talking about Rand Paul. And I know it's about Hillary, and we're going to get back to Hillary in a second, but I just want to kind of run the field here for a second. With Rand Paul, he had that big filibuster that it almost seems like a joke now. It's almost like a punchline, considering his involvement with this drone situation now. So I feel almost like I was duped. He rode the skirt of his father, so to speak, his coattails, in my opinion, to get all the Ron Paul supporters to believe, hey, this guy's going to be a libertarian. And that's great. If he was going to be a libertarian, I have no problem with him using his father's fame to launch his political career. But I don't see him as a principled libertarian. I don't see it from Rand Paul. That is just my opinion. I'm happy to hear you guys on it. But and again, Ted Cruz, I don't believe he's a libertarian. I think he's a conservative, maybe some libertarian tendencies. However, I think that I can trust what Ted Cruz is saying he will do. To me, he strikes me as the kind of person that if he says he's going to do something, he will do something. And this whole nonsense with Rand Paul saying that he's a libertarian and he believes in freedom, but yet he did the drone deal that he cut now, and now he's going against his whole policy on drones, his filibuster to begin with, and then he supports candidates like Mitch McConnell. He endorses them, candidates who are clearly establishment GOP types, who are not liberty-minded, who do not honor their oath to the Constitution. These people are the worst in my opinion. These people are the ones who will put their party before principle. And somebody who's willing to endorse somebody who's willing to put their party politics before their principle is not somebody that I want to get behind. That's just me. But anyway, so back to Hillary. Hillary, she's full of gaffes. I mean, every single week that she's in the news, if she's in the news, there will be a gaffe. You can guarantee it. She must either just not be very good, in front of a microphone, and we'll get to that in a second, or the people she has working for her must be just complete imbeciles. I don't know. One of those two. It's either Hillary's direct fault or the people who she has working for her. But Hillary's press office, they left an embarrassing typo in the press announcement saying that Hillary had fought children and families all her career. I'm assuming they meant to say fought for children and families, but no, she's fought children and families all her career. So, she's you guys might have missed it, but she was in the news a while back ago. She had a very prestigious MMA career where she was just pummeling children and families all at the same time. It was very crazy. So you may have missed it, but they used to call her Knockout Hill. So you got to be careful for her. If you're below 3 feet tall, she can knock you out in one punch. So anyway. Let's see, Hillary. She's Hillary Rodham Clinton, according to the article on dailymail.co.uk, and an article written by David Martosco, titled, way too long to read that title. So, okay. Hillary Rodham Clinton is running for president, leaning on the message of middle-class rescue, and claims that America's economy is still stacked in favor of those atop, according to a campaign video that went online Sunday afternoon. That's today, everyone. It just went live. So I'll play the video for you here, and I'm going to give you some analysis because you can't see it. You can't see what's going on, but there are specific reasons why she has this video set up the way she does, and we'll talk about it. We'll analyze it. We'll kind of run it down. But first of all, I think it's laughable because this is her two things, that she's rescuing the middle class, which is not something that the progressives are doing. They're actually shrinking the middle class. They're making it harder for middle class workers to get by. They're making the economy worse, so the cost of goods is, and this is not what's happening right now, but not for lack of trying, because as we all know, the oil situation here, the price of oil has dropped, and that is in a direct response to the fracking situation that we had in North Dakota, and the situation in Texas. So we here are producing a lot of natural gas. We're producing, a lot of resources that are affecting the price of oil. So the price of oil has dropped, which is directly against what we were told by the progressives would happen. They go, oh, no. If we produce stuff domestically, it won't have an effect on the price of oil because it's all about futures and speculation. It won't have anything to do. Forget that, the first rule in economics is supply and demand. So forget that. It doesn't matter that, if you have more of an item, if you have more of a supply of something, that the demand will lower, which in turn lowers the value of that item. So that's economics 101. All right, I'm not an economist by any means, and I don't claim to have really even a great handle on the economy. A very complicated system, many parts moving at once. But what I do know is that supply and demand is a real and verifiable thing. So, and it's just like money supplies. It's just like when we talk about currency. When they start pumping and printing and digitizing more money, putting it out into the economy, what we have is diminishing returns on our dollar. Each dollar is worth less and less and less and less. And eventually you hit a point where if there's so many of this thing, whatever item it is, if the supply of that item is so high, then eventually the item is worth less. Not worth less, but worthless. It's not worth anything at that point. So, we got to be careful about that with the dollar. But in terms of oil, that is why our price of gas is diminished. But with cap and trade and with all the different programs that the progressives want to push down our throats, it's going to, they were trying to increase the cost of energy. All of these different things increase the cost of goods. And then we talk about minimum wage. Oh, my goodness. Minimum wage has done more to hurt the middle class than ever. And I've given you guys my take on the minimum wage, why I have problems with it. But let's just cut down to the nitty-gritty on minimum wage itself. Why does it hurt the middle class? Okay, why does it hurt just the average Joe Schmo? Let's look at it, first of all, from a business side. Okay, I'm a business owner. I want to pay you, $5 to do a job, and you say, okay, well, that job is worth $5. I could do that job, $5 an hour. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. That's acceptable. Well, now the government comes in and says, I'm sorry, Mack, you have to pay that person $10 an hour to do that job. And I look at it and I'm like, I've already got these employees, and now I have to pay my current employees more, double what I'm currently paying them. So not only can I, one, not afford to hire someone new to do this job, but two, I have to downsize. I have to get rid of people because now I can't afford to pay these people. So maybe if I have 10 employees, maybe I'll have to fire 3 of them. And now 7 people are working and they're getting paid $10 an hour, and they're all expected to do more work for that amount of money. So they're all required now to 7 people are picking up the slack for what would have been 11 people, but now I can't hire that one person, and 3 people got to go. All right, so you on the other side of that, you were perfectly willing to work for $5 an hour, but the government said, no, we don't respect your right to contract. We don't respect your ability to make decisions and understand what's best for you. We'll decide what's best for you because we're the government and you're too stupid to figure that out. So what they do is they make the decision for you. And in doing that, it screws you over as an individual because now you can't get that job. And it makes you less marketable if you're not very marketable to begin with. Because let's say you are not marketable. Let's say you have 0 skills, 0 job experience, 0 everything, and you're, let's say, not even out of high school. Let's say you failed high school and you dropped out, and okay, cool. All right. If that's where you are, how do you compete in that job market? All right? How do you make yourself marketable? Well, the first thing you have to do is come up with a way to make yourself marketable. And one way to do that is to say, I will work for less. I will do that same job. I'll do it just as hard and as well as that guy, and I'll do it for less. So what does the government do when they take away your ability here is you can't market yourself. They took away your way of getting a job. So what they do is they create more poverty by doing this. There's less jobs in the market. There's less people who are employed, so there's less people in the middle class. There's more people in this lower class now, and the separation between the middle class and the upper class, it gets more and more. That is why it's a joke that Hillary's talking about rescuing the middle class, because their progressive agendas do more to damage and destroy the middle class than anything else out there. It's a joke, rescue the middle class. But more importantly, it's a little bit hypocritical, all right? Because Hillary's talking about how it's still stacked in favor of those at the top. Well, you were at top. You're at the top, Hillary, aren't you? I mean, you're one of the 1%ers, right? So I guess maybe you would know best. Maybe because your policies are kicking out the ladders that people could climb to the level of success that you are at. But your policies are preventing them from reaching those goals. She says, everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion. Again, reluctant politicians. You know, does that sound like a reluctant politician to you? Does that sound like somebody who's reluctant to have power over somebody? Does that sound like somebody who doesn't want power? Does that sound like somebody that you can trust? If I'm asking you to give me power, if I'm asking you to give me control, give me anything, any kind of resource or power, if I'm asking you to do that, to choose me to do this, and I have a bunch of policies that screw over everybody, does that sound like somebody that you can trust, that you want to be your champion? Especially somebody, and it's odd too here, because the Benghazi scandal, all right? The Benghazi scandal showed Hillary, I think, a perfect example of Hillary. What difference does it make? Now that term has been forever tainted by Hillary. Do you want somebody that doesn't really care why Americans died to be their champion? What difference does it make that these people died? What difference does it make they're dead? Well, I think it makes a hell of a lot of difference. That's just me personally. I want to know why people died. But, you know, that's one of those things that we may never get to the bottom of because, we found out that Hillary has a whole hidden bunch of emails on her server that we don't get to see until she cherry picks out of all the information out of there that she doesn't want us to see. And her excuse is, it's private communications between her and her husband. But Bill accidentally dimed her out and said, I've used email like once in my life. So I'm horrible at the Bill Clinton impression. I'll try to work on it. I was going to do one, but it's no good. No good. I won't punish you guys. I'm not very good at impressions. So, but, it's just really, really upsetting to me that somebody who's doing more than anyone I mean, as far as a party, the Progressive Party can be coined as the champion of the middle class. It's outrageous. It is ridiculous. But anyway, let's look at this video here. You can't watch it with me, but I'll pause it, describe things, and talk to you. We're going to give some analysis on this. So here we go. We got Hillary. I'm running for president in 2016.
I'm getting ready for a lot of things. A lot of things.
It's spring, so we're starting to get the gardens ready, and my tomatoes are legendary here in my own neighborhood.
Okay, so these are all women so far. It's the first one was a woman with a daughter, and now this is an older woman. She's probably in her, at least older than the last woman, excuse me. She's probably in her late 50s or something like that, and she's talking about her garden. And so what this is right now, it's showing you a bunch of women. All right, so hey, Hillary, I'm a woman. Women, hey, vote for me, women.
My daughter is about to start kindergarten next year.
With your daughter.
And so we're moving just so
Like
she
she
can
maybe
belong
is-
to a better school.
Latin.
Mi hermana y yo
Hispanic.
estamos empezando un primer negocio.
Okay, now this is a set of Hispanic brothers. He says, my brother, in Spanish, and there's subtitles here, my brother and I are starting our first business.
After 5 years of raising my children, I am now going back to work.
And it's another woman with her child.
Every day we're trying to get more ready and more prepared.
Baby boy.
Okay, so now it's an African-American couple. They're talking about it. So Hillary's like, look, I support African-Americans too. So women and African-Americans, vote for me. I know you voted for Barack, so vote for me too.
Coming your way.
Right now I'm applying for jobs. It's a look into what the real world will look like after college.
Okay, so this is a young woman, probably in her early 20s, and she's talking about the real world after college. So Hillary, she's supporting the young kids too, and it's a woman.
I'm getting married this summer to someone I really care about.
All right, so now it's a picture of two guys holding hands, and this is obviously Hillary. We support gay marriage too, so hey, come support Hillary.
I'm gonna be in the play. I'm gonna be in a fish costume. From little tiny fishes.
And it's a kid.
I'm getting ready to retire soon. Retirement means reinventing yourself in many ways.
Well, we've been doing a lot of home renovations.
But most importantly, we really just want to teach our dog to quit eating the trash.
Okay, so at this point, when you may be experiencing this, I know I was when I was watching. I was like, "What is this even about, Hillary? What is this about?" We got a bunch of women, some kids, some couples. What is it about now? It's talking about dogs.
And so we have high hopes for 2015 that that's going to happen.
I've started a new career recently. This is a fifth-generation company, which means a lot to me. This country was founded on hard work, and it really feels good to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And, the funny thing is that if you as a business owner support Hillary or progressives who are in this kind of situation that are running for president, you can rest assured that they're going to pass policies that are going to try to continue to put their boot on your neck. After a period of time, you're not going to have anywhere to run. You're going to be, you'll be a productive member of society, but thanks to the redistribution of wealth that their policies are going to continue to impress upon you, number one, you're going to have to pay your employees. What is the minimum wage? Where does it stop? Where will it be a living wage? Where will the end of that be? Right now we're talking $15 an hour. What about 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? What about 200? Where will the end of the minimum wage be? Is there a limit to how much is fair? How much is it fair to do that? As a business owner, I can't even imagine how you can support a progressive policy, a progressive agenda, a progressive president. I can't understand why anybody would support progressives to begin with. But as a business owner, how can you rationalize that? Because your hard work that you're so proud to do and to be a part of will eventually go to someone else. That's redistribution of wealth, everyone. Taking from those who don't deserve it and giving it to those who someone else decides deserves it more. That's the way the progressives look at it.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president.
Boo! All right, so now we're 1 minute and 36 seconds into this thing, and she finally tells us. And we see Hillary rear her ugly head in here again. So now we finally get to see what this video is about, understand the purpose. So she's doing something too.
Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times, but the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top.
No thanks to you. You know, people have fought back from bad economic times in spite of progressive policies, not thanks to. And question out there to you guys, do you think everything's better? Do you think the economy's great? Do you think everything's hunky-dory? I mean, I know a lot of people out there who are still struggling. So, she's painting a picture like things are better. And she's gonna rescue the middle class because it's rigged for the middle class, right? Because of her progressive policies. But, she's going to be the one to do it. She's going to help us.
Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
Everyday Americans do not need a champion. We need our government to get the hell out of the way.
So you can do more than just get by. You can get ahead and stay ahead. Because when families are strong, America is strong.
Now they're doing montages of all these
So
people
I'm hitting
smiling.
the road to earn your vote because it's your time. And I hope you'll join me on this journey.
Blech. Excuse me, I just puked in my mouth and swallowed it a little bit. So, yeah, apparently Americans need a champion. That's what Hillary would have you believe, that we need a champion because we're too stupid. We can't do things ourselves. We're just big dummies, and we're not capable of abstract thought or complicated mental math. Nope, can't do it. We need a champion to do that. Do the hard work for us. She's gonna earn our vote. She's gonna earn our vote, everyone. Oh, thank you, Hillary, for making my life so much easier because I can't handle thinking, Oh, one day they should just make that thing illegal. Whatever. Thinking. I'm sorry, I was reading Hitler's last 24 hours here. There's a article in the Daily Mail here I just saw. Hitler's last 24 hours. I want to be beautiful, be a beautiful corpse, said Eva amid the frenzy of sex during drinking. This is crazy. Anyway, sorry, I just saw a little thing about Hitler. I was like, what the heck is this? Yeah, it frustrates me that the whole concept that people put so much faith into their government, their politicians, their public servants. First of all, these people are people. They're people. There's nothing really important about these people. They're just people. Okay? So they can't solve all of our problems. They can't fix everything. And they shouldn't. And you shouldn't expect them to. They can't be your champion, just like, you don't need a leader. You need to be your leader. All right? You need to figure out how you can help, what you can do. And I say this, I pound this dead horse all the time here. I tell you guys, you need to figure out what you can do to move the dial of liberty forward. What can you do? But I'll tell you what you shouldn't do is to look for a champion or start hero worshiping, or to think, oh, you know what, that ought to be illegal. To try to tell your neighbor how to live their life if they're not depriving anyone of their rights or hurting others. These are really important philosophical points that you should really understand. And I'm not trying to stand on my soapbox here, and I know that most of you out there, and I especially the Mack Pack, oh my goodness, you guys are awesome. I know most of you guys already feel this way. And I know I'm really preaching to the choir right now. I know that. But it's just astounding to me that so many people in America have this hero worship mentality where we assume that somebody is going to be our savior, the man on the white horse that our founding fathers warned us about and were concerned about. They were concerned that some person would just sweep in, man on the white horse, and say all the right things, and we would give them all the power, give them all of our power, so we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to be our own leaders. We don't have to be educated and activated We don't have to do all those things. We just sit back, relax, enjoy our freedom and our apathy. That's what we want to do, but that's not something that is possible. In my opinion, I don't believe that you can be apathetic and free for very long. And I think that we're feeling the results of that apathy. America has really let ourselves go. We've become entitled, we've become spoiled, we've become just this generation of people who expect the government to do for us. We've become a generation of people that I think our founders would be embarrassed about. And I know many of you out there are not the reason why our founders would be embarrassed. I know many of you out there, our founders, if they saw you and saw how you lived your life, saw the kind of conversations that we have weekly here, they would be proud. But I know that there's so many people out there that are just turned off when it comes to politics. They don't care. They really just genuinely do not care about what's going on. And that's their right. They have every right to. However, we're going to be in a world of hurt if we all don't start waking up and realize that there is in fact a boot on our neck. And I think that I'm hopeful. Honestly, I'm very hopeful, because once you realize that there is a boot on your neck, it is impossible for you to stay quiet about it. Once you realize that you are living in a state of what some people call soft tyranny, once you realize this, and you realize that the government is just going way, way beyond the scope of what they are allowed to do, and in addition to that, they are going against the negative liberties in the Constitution that says what they're not allowed to do. Once you realize and you open your eyes and you say, okay, things are a little bit out of control. I don't think this is what our founders had in mind. Once you make that realization, I don't think that you can help but resist. Once you realize there's a boot on your neck, you can't help but resist. The hard part is convincing people that there is, in fact, a boot on their neck. They have been brainwashed and manipulated to just give their rights away. That this government can look out for them. That it's a righteous government and it should look out for them. The government is just people. And I wouldn't trust my neighbors to tell me how to live my life any more than I would my government. People. They're just people. That's all they are. Would you trust your community to tell you what you can do, how you can do it, what rules to live by as a collective? Would you trust that the majority of the people in just on your street would respect your rights? I wouldn't. That's why we live in a constitutional republic. That's why we are not a democracy. And again, we're brainwashed now even to think that we live in a democracy. You ask 9 out of 10 people, what form of government do we have here in America? 9 out of 10. I promise you, 9 out of 10 people will mention democracy in some shape or form. Maybe you'll get a republic mention in there. Maybe they may say a democratic republic, something along those lines. This is a constitutional republic. We have rules, negative liberties. That's what the Constitution Bill of Rights is. 1 through 10. Those are negative liberties. It says what the government cannot do. These are rules saying, hey, government, you can never do these things. But yet they do, and they did. And they continue to reinterpret to the Supreme Court things that they can't do. And I've mentioned several times the ability of judicial review, the ability to determine what is constitutional. That's an ability that they took for themselves, the Supreme Court. They were never given it. It's not anywhere in the Constitution. They took that ability for themselves. Now they're the ultimate arbiter on all things constitutional, and there's no recourse. We can't even overturn a constitutional situation like that. Any kind of decision that they make about something being unconstitutional or constitutional, we cannot overturn it. Things are out of control. Once you realize a boot is on your neck, you cannot help but resist. I think that's human nature. But again, the hard part is getting people to care. Getting people to wake up. And I really hate using that term "wake up," by the way, because first of all, it's overused. But second of all, I feel like it's one of those things. It's kind of pretentious, like I'm smarter than you are because I'm awake and you're asleep and a sheeple. That's the way I look at it. I don't really like using that, but it really it's an eye-opening experience. And it's not because I'm not saying that I'm awake, and because I'm awake I'm smarter than you or those out there that are asleep or whatever. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I have made some realizations, and it was very, very surprising to me. It was a rude awakening. And at one point I didn't know it either. I didn't realize how bad things have got, how far we have allowed the federal Leviathan to grow and expand. I didn't realize. Now I do, and I hope to wake others up to these facts. That's my only goal in this show. That's the only reason why I do this show is, number one, to talk to you guys, because you guys are awesome. Members of the Mack Pack, you guys are awesome. You guys are like an extended family to me, and I've learned so much from you guys, and I've really just enjoyed the time that I've had to talk to you guys and hear your thoughts and your opinions. That's the reason I do the show. But that was it. That's why I continue to do the show. The reason I started was to inspire, get others involved, get others doing something, stimulate conversation, debate. These are things that I want to do. And as far as I'm concerned, I would consider my efforts here a total success. If I helped one person to kind of realize what is going on in our country, the abuse of authority, the expansion of the federal Leviathan, if I help one person, I consider it a success. But that's where I stand. But as far as the whole concept of needing a champion, you don't need a champion. You need to lead yourself. You need to figure out where you stand on issues and figure out, does this situation here violate someone's rights? If it does, it's wrong. All right. If it doesn't, then it shouldn't be illegal. All right. We're talking about respect for rights of individuals to live their lives. All I want is the ability to make mistakes. That's all I want. I don't need the government to protect me. I don't need the nanny state to tell me that I'm making a mistake. I'm a free man. I own myself. You own yourself. You're free to make whatever mistakes you want. Anyway, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. I want to come back. I got some more articles about Hillary. I want to play some more stuff on her. We're going to deep dive into some of these other articles, and I really want to address some more problems with the Hillary campaign, because her campaign is going to be plagued with them. So I just kind of want to forecast and show you guys what to expect. We'll be right back.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
And we're back. All right, so I want to read a couple of things here on Twitter. We got some notifications from you guys here. So we've got one of our listeners says, Mack, I opened my automotive shop in November 2001. I was doing great till Obama got elected. The last 6 months have been the worst. It's not just my shop; it's everyone in the area. And again, these are the outcomes. This is the fruition of progressive policies. You know, it is really a cancer. That is what progressivism is. It's a cancer on the productive members of society. It's not for. I want to try to figure out how to word this without being offending here. I'm not trying to disparage those who are on some kind of government assistance. You know, and I don't even necessarily think that government assistance is the problem, because sometimes, legitimately, people need help. It's true. Some people need help. I mean, sometimes you run into a situation you can't handle on your own, and you've exhausted all your options, and sometimes you need help. And I don't see anything wrong with that. But I look at that as charity. All right. If somebody wants to help you, that's charity. When you start reaching into other people's pockets, or the government does it for you, reaching in your pockets and starts deciding who is more worthy of receiving that funding, this is called redistribution of wealth, and that is a socialist policy. We are not socialists, last I checked, and socialism leads to communism, and I don't want anything to do with that. The whole concept and idea that, socialism has it's not worked out in the past. It's been really bad. It's led to a lot of deaths. All right, socialism and communism and fascism has killed more people than any other force on earth. Basically, I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of people have died. Let me find out the numbers here. Actually, I'll do this on the next commercial break. I'm going to retract my hundreds of millions statement, and we'll come up with a real clear number when I get back. That was a guess, but with things like the Great Leap Forward in China, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, that's Mao basically killing tons and tons of citizens. Look it up. If you don't know what the Great Leap Forward is, look that up, because it's odd enough as it is, because it's one of those kind of like progressive kind of name changers where they take something about the slaughtering of millions of people and they call it the Great Leap Forward. So they make it sound so great, right? Yeah. And as you know, the progressives, they especially like MSNBC crazy and things like that, they love to use the term forward, lean forward, and it's very reminiscent to me of that Maoist extermination of people, the Great Leap Forward. They like to reuse the same kind of words and terminology. It's something to be scared of. But again, the whole idea that it's always turned out bad. Fascism, socialism, communism, all these things has every instance of it has always led bad when the government becomes socialist or communist. It's always resulted in deaths and really tyrannical situations every time. But, we're told by the progressives, who know better than everyone else because they think they do. They think they're geniuses, and just like Barack Obama probably thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's ever been in. They think that it just hasn't been done right. And it's because these people now haven't done it. They weren't the ones at the steering wheel. They'll do it right. You can trust them. You don't have to worry about a new Great Leap Forward here in America. Or do you? I think you do. I think you should be wary of those who want to take your rights away and tell you how to live your life and tell you that they know what's best for you because you're just too stupid. You're just a little dummy. You don't know anything. But these people are vastly incompetent themselves. Let me go back to Hillary Clinton since we're talking about incompetence. So Clinton, apparently, this is an article on Grabien, GRABIEN.com, and this article is titled "Clinton Campaign Site Implores Visitors to Subscribe to Non-Working YouTube Channel." So it's youtube.com/Hillary Clinton. And when you go there, it says this channel is not available. At least it did. So shortly after 3 p.m. Eastern Time, the Hillary Clinton for President campaign officially kicked off. Rumors began Friday that a video and tweet announcing the campaign will come Sunday morning. So what explains the delay? Still unclear. But as of this post being published, the YouTube channel linked on HillaryClinton.com, where the visitors are told to subscribe to the Hillary 2016 YouTube channel, doesn't work. Going there results in a message from YouTube that this channel is not available. Clinton's campaign video is instead hosted on a YouTube channel that has yet to be affiliated with the youtube.com/Hillary Clinton link advertised on HillaryClinton.com. Perhaps this is a glitch the campaign was hoping to fix in the intervening hours. Meanwhile, here's the Hillary launch video, and they have the video that I just played for you guys. So, all right, so they had a typo in their thing where it says Hillary Clinton was essentially an MMA fighter fighting children and families her entire career, and now they messed up on this as well. Okay, so these are people who are trying to run the country, and they're not able to run a campaign without multiple errors and gaffes. So let's go to another article here, and I like this one. This one is actually interesting for me here. So this is a Republican called Carly Fiorina, I believe is her last name. Fiorina. She's a possible presidential candidate. She's reacting to Hillary Clinton's entry into the 2016 race. This is an article by theweeklystandard.com written by Daniel Halper. This is posted today. So anyway, she says that she doesn't have the track record. This is Fiorina. She says that Hillary does not have the track record of leadership or trustworthiness. That's what she's talking about, the Hillary Clinton. She's not the woman for the White House. So anyway, I'm going to play the video. It's only like a minute, I think. And I think you guys will like this. And anyway, here it is.
I think our nation's at a pivotal time, so anyone who wants to be president or commander-in-chief needs a track record of leadership and accomplishment and trustworthiness. Hillary Clinton's a highly intelligent woman, hardworking. She's dedicated her life to public service, but unfortunately she does not have a track record of accomplishment or transparency. After the famous reset with Russia, Russia is now a more powerful adversary than it was when she became Secretary of State. Our relationship with Israel has deteriorated dramatically. The Middle East is in flames. And of course, she has not been transparent. She told us for weeks after the purposeful terrorist attack in Benghazi that this was the result of an American video and a demonstration gone bad. And now we learn that she has used a private email server and a private email system for the most sensitive of communications while she was Secretary of State. She doesn't have a track record of leadership or trustworthiness. She's not the woman for the White House.
Boom. Explosions. All right, so Carly Fiorina is who that was, Republican. So, and I happen to agree. These are things that we want in somebody who's going to have the most prestigious and powerful position in the land, the office of the President of the United States. We want somebody who's, first of all, transparent and trustworthy. And these are two qualities that Hillary Clinton absolutely does not have. Obviously, we are aware of the email scandal that she's involved in. She didn't want to carry two devices, and that was too complicated and difficult to figure out how to put her emails on just one device. I mean, I have I probably have 4 email accounts, literally. I'm not even joking right now, linked to one device right now. 4 email accounts linked to one device. I can do it. You're telling me that the Secretary of State can't Can't do that? Okay. But even still, she has people around her. So even if she couldn't, even if she wasn't capable, or maybe wasn't even allowed, maybe there's something I don't know about it that it was preventing her from being able to carry, all of this stuff, all these emails, link all these emails to one device. Even if she had to carry 4 devices. All right? I want you guys to think about something, okay? Me and you, we're normal people. We don't need people to wipe our butts or chew our food for us. But we can't say that about these politicians. They have people, especially the Hillary Clinton type people. The Clintons, the Bushes, those kind of people. They literally have people around them at all times. They're little servants. So you're telling me that even if you don't want to carry your device, you can't just hand it off to one of your aides and say, here you go. If this beeps, you let me know. That's your job. Yeah. I find it a little bit ridiculous. But it was easier for them to set up their own email server than it is to figure out how to get just one device that can do all the stuff, or have some of their aides carry out around multiple devices. And previously, before the scandal even came out, she was talking about all of the devices that she carried. She carried like an iPhone, a mini iPad, all these different things, a BlackBerry, all these different devices. But then suddenly she didn't when she was caught up in the scandal. So, and she says that she had to go through and pull out and pick and choose all these emails. She'll give you the emails from the server, but she has to select the ones, get rid of the ones that are private in nature, and correspondence between her and Bill. Yeah, her and Bill Clinton. But again, Bill Clinton dimed her out and said he's only really ever used email once in his life. So how many was that one? Is that the one email that she pulled out of there? Unlikely. But Trey Gowdy's on the case, and he's going to figure out what's going on with this. He's going to get to the bottom of it or die trying. So I'm looking forward to finding out what was going on and what kind of consequences there will be for Hillary Clinton for possibly violating the law. I mean, maybe it's not law, maybe it's policy, but this is an area that the Clintons are very, very well accustomed to, is this legal gray area. I mean, we're talking about the Clintons, the same people who said, what is the definition of the word is? So, not exactly a presidential candidate, not exactly trustworthy. These are people that are not to be trusted. They are not transparent. They do not want you to see what's going on behind the curtain, but they want to know everything is going on in your life. No. You can't see what's going on with your public officials in the performance of their duties. You can't see that, all right? But they want access to everything you are doing. They want access to everything that's going on in your life. They want to be able to read your emails. They want to be able to collect your metadata on your phone, know who you're calling. They want to be able to store it all in a big data mining center in Utah. They want the federal government to be able to tell you how to live your life. They want everything. They want control. That's what they want. But we can't see these same things with them. There's no transparency with them. Not the woman for the job, I would agree. Not the person for the job. The Clintons and the Bushes, I think we need to oust them all. I'm done with the Bushes. I'm done with the Clintons. Can we get somebody new? Now, I heard something the other day. If you're under 40 years old, there has never been a time in your life that a Bush or a Clinton has not been in or around as a staffer in the White House. If you're 40 years old, I want you guys to think about that. I mean, does that sound right to you? You've never seen a time when there hasn't been a Bush or a Clinton in the White House. And soon, we're going to see Obama's children getting in on this. We're going to see Hillary's kids getting in on this. It's just never ending. It's going to be Bush, Obama, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Clinton. It's just forever, never ending cycle. Can we please break this cycle? So let's talk about some of Hillary's problems. Obviously, Benghazi. What difference does it make? Nobody can say that phrase now, first of all, without it being attributed to Hillary Clinton. She's ruined that phrase forever. Anytime I say it, I'm like, Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make? Okay. But there's another article here. This is Yahoo News. Achilles heels, scandals, gaffes could haunt Hillary. So Anyway, according to the article, Hillary Clinton looks ahead to 2016 as the year Americans may finally elect the first ever female president. But her past is frighted, I guess, with blemishes and gaffes that could compromise, if not sink, her campaign. Clinton intends to draw on her wealth of experience and her wealth in general as First Lady, U.S. Senator and globe-trotting Secretary of State to convince voters she is the best person for the job. But the Republican National Committee is already labeling her as past as decades-long record of secrecy and scandal. Here's a look. The Lewinsky affair. President Bill Clinton's sexual indiscretion have long dogged the superstar Democratic couple. Arkansas employee Paula Jones sued Clinton for sexual harassment. The president testified in 1998 that he had intimate relations with the former reporter Jennifer Flowers. Years earlier, he sat next to Hillary and insisted on CBS's 60 Minutes that accusations of Clinton-Flowers affair were false. So, okay, I just want to make it clear for those of you out there, I do not hold those accountable for the actions of their spouse or others, maybe that they're related to. So, just like I wouldn't want you to hold my wife accountable for something I said or did, or vice versa, I don't do that with her. So, maybe it's a reflection on her choices to have a spouse like this. Maybe poor decision making at most that you can do is maybe a bad judge of character. In which case, I guess it is relative to the conversation of should we elect this person to the most prestigious office in the nation? Should we give this person this much power control over everyday Americans' lives? Somebody that's making bad choices on a consistent basis. So yeah, maybe bad judgment calls. That's what it could be led to, but I don't judge her as a person for her relationship with Bill Clinton. I think these are on him. Let's see here. But the truly explosive scandal was a relationship Bill had with the White House intern Monica Lewinsky and the subsequent December 1998 impeachment of Clinton by the House of Representatives for perjury. Gosh. Okay. For perjury and obstructing a federal investigation. He was acquitted by the Senate, but the episode is a scab that might be peeled back over the next 18 months. It's not Hillary's fault, Republican Senator Rand Paul. Wow, that's what Rand Paul said. It's not Hillary's fault. Republican Senator Rand Paul himself, a likely presidential candidate, which he's already announced, said last year about Bill's trysts. But Paul said after the affair should now be fair game and warned of the damage of sending a philanderer back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as first husband. Can you imagine? Let's mention this for a second here. Can you imagine good old Bill in the White House again as first husband? All right, the first lady, I guess his first man. What would that be? The first, I don't know. I don't know what they'll actually call that, but it's kind of interesting because as the first husband or first man or whatever it is, I wonder if all these duties that the first lady has, how they're supposed to take the prestigious china and they do the decorating in the White House and all these other things. They have a job. The First Lady is, in fact, an actual job. So I'm wondering if Bill Clinton is going to carry that forward, if that's going to be something that he's going to do, or if the moment a man gets in that position as a First Lady or First Man, if suddenly those jobs and duties are going to go away. If he's going to actually pick up that torch, I'm interested to see. And by the way, if Hillary does make it into office in 2016, which we all hope that she doesn't, but if she does, we'll at least have that to look forward to, that spectacle. But I digress. So anyway, she has Benghazi is another thing. All these things in this article is talking about her husband here. So. Let's see here. We'll go through some of these other here. Rich woman, poor woman. The Clintons are wealthy by any measure, but has not always been the case in Arkansas. They lived in relative modesty. Although that changed in Washington, Clinton blurted out to ABC television last year that the Clintons were dead broke when they left the White House. They were indeed saddled with Bill Clinton's huge legal fees from the Lewinsky scandal, but they nonetheless purchased a reported $1.7 million home in New York in 1999 and a 7-bedroom manor in Washington a year later for about $2.85 million. Oh, dead broke. They're dead broke. They both have made millions in speaking fees since, and Hillary quickly clarified later that she had terrific opportunities in life, but Republicans could still aim to paint her as out of touch. Yeah, she is out of touch. She's saying she's working for the middle class. She's going to be the champion of the middle class. But she's over here claiming that she's been dead broke, and she's not dead broke, obviously. I wish that my dead broke was living in $2 million houses, one at $1.7 million and one at $2.58 million. Yeah, I'm dead broke. I wish I could be Hillary Clinton's version of dead broke. So, she's out of touch, completely out of touch, and frankly, I think a little crazy. But anyway, moving forward, Benghazi, perhaps Clinton's chief failure, while top diplomat, was the response to the attacks on the U.S. mission in Benghazi, Libya on September 11, 2012. Republicans hammer her for not doing enough and accuse the administration of changing the talking points issued by the administration into downplaying the assault. But what might live on through the 2016 campaign is Clinton's exasperated response when questioned by Republicans over what prompted the assault that killed our Americans. What difference does it make at this point? Clinton boomed in the 2013 Senate hearing and in comments that quickly went viral. Complicating that never-ending Benghazi probe, the House committee investigating the attack learned in March that Clinton contravened government rules by exclusively using a private email account during her 4 years at the State Department. Those emails were kept on a private computer server, and while Clinton insisted she gave all official emails to state, she refused to turn over the server to a neutral party as requested by the House committee's chairman. So, those will probably never turn up ever. We'll never know, just like Lois Lerner's email. We're expected to believe that all these computers break at the same time in the IRS. Oh yeah, and then we destroyed the computers. Not only did they stop working, we had a catastrophic failure, but we destroyed the hard drives. All coincidence. We're not trying to hide anything from you guys. I promise you that. So these are things that may come up, and I find it interesting that they're all being aired now, especially at the beginning here. I think this is going to be one of those things that is. They're clearing the air right now, basically. They're putting all this information back out in the news cycle, and maybe I'm guilty of this as well. Perhaps I should not talk about it, but I think it's important, and I think you guys aren't stupid, and I think you guys have a long memory. And first of all, I just want you guys to have the ammunition that you need when you're talking to Hillary supporters, because it's important to know your opposition. Know thy enemy, right? So this woman is obviously problematic. She has her issues. But additionally, even within her own party now, she's not getting all the support that she needs. And the reason for that is because she doesn't have a detailed vision on her website. And on her website, she has nothing about the issues. And here's an article, or actually a video, about Bill de Blasio. He's New York mayor. He's talking about this lack of vision on her website and her details about what she stands for. So she's trying to run as a moderate. I want to make this clear. She's trying to run as a moderate. That is important for her because she needs to show people that she's distanced herself from Obama. She's tried to do that as much as she can. She's not Obama. That's what she's trying to show everybody. And she's like, hey, look, I'm a moderate. But her plans, they're going to follow the progressive agenda. You just know they will. This is what she's done. This is what she stands for. This is her party. So she doesn't put it on the website, so we can't find out what she's really going to do. And her progressives in her party, her fellow progressives, have an issue with this, and they want her to come out with what she actually plans before they endorse her. Bill de Blasio, Mayor de Blasio, today said he would not back Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign until she clarifies her message for voters. And here's the video of him talking this. He's on Meet the Press. So this is looks like NBC. I'm guessing this is MSNBC crazy or MSNBC communist. I don't know. I can't tell. But I don't watch this crap anyway. So I'm going to play this for you guys. You can hear de Blasio's excuse as to why he will not support Hillary for yourself.
Quarter century, though, had a Clinton as president for 8 years. Quarter century, though, had a Clinton as president for 8 years of that last quarter century. So that's going to be difficult. Let me ask you this. Are you for her now, unequivocally, or do you want to wait to see if she takes your advice on moving to a more progressive agenda?
I think like a lot of people in this country, I want to see a vision. And again, that would be true of candidates on all levels. It's time to see a clear, bold vision for progressive economic change.
You're technically not yet endorsing her.
No, not until I see, and I would say this about any candidate, till I see an actual vision of where they want to go. I think she's a tremendous public servant. I think she is one of the most qualified people to ever run for this office. And by the way, thoroughly vetted. We can say that. But we need to see the substance.
All right. Do you want to see her get a tough primary?
I think, again, what's happening now almost synthesizes some of the reality of the primary. Clearly, what's happening in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is a demand for our candidates to come forward with a vision. That's creating some of the same positive pressure you see in the primary process. She doesn't need to be vetted. I think
He says she doesn't need to be vetted. Okay, so apparently, according to de Blasio, she's already proved herself. You know, for me, and I've mentioned this before to you guys, I would love to see some more candidates come out against Hillary because Hillary's a weak candidate. She's just weak. A practically unknown senator named Barack Hussein Obama, an African-American senator who no one's ever heard of, with a name like Barack Hussein Obama, came in virtually unknown and whooped on some Hillary Clinton because she's a weak candidate. She's weak. So there are people out there that can beat her in the Democrat Party. Now, I'm not saying that I would want them. However, what I do want is people who say what they are, and they are clear about where they stand. All right, they are not lukewarm. They are either hot or they are cold. They tell you what their positions are. Like, for example, Elizabeth Warren. All right, now I'm not a supporter of Elizabeth Warren, so please do not assume that I am by mentioning her. Elizabeth Warren is a socialist. She's a socialist. She's extreme. She's out there. We know where she stands. So she's a known quantity. I like that about her. I hope she runs, and I hope she beats Hillary in the primary, and I hope that she goes up against a Republican candidate because I want it to be the most clear choice between liberty or slavery. I want, conservative or libertarian values. I will take either one of them at this point versus socialism or communism. Let's make the decision. Capitalism, communism. What do we want? America, you decide. But in order to do that, we need a clear choice as well on our side. And I think as it stands now, Ted Cruz is the clearest choice. I feel like that's why I'm supporting, the idea of a Ted Cruz presidency. I am not fully committed to this. I'm not married to this idea yet. Because again, I don't believe in hero worshiping. Ted Cruz is a man. Just like anybody else, he's full of human frailties, and I'm sure he makes mistakes just like you and I. So I don't know if he's going to make any mistakes. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will tell you that I'm not into this champion thing. I'm not into this hero worshiping thing. I don't like it. I think it's dangerous for us to tie our horses to a cart and not even consider that it's the wrong cart to tie it to. And again, it's very troubling to me when we start considering giving people power who want power. I think those are the very kind of people that we don't want to give power to. That is my personal opinion. So, I would love to see this come down to Elizabeth Warren versus Ted Cruz. That would be the best ever, in my opinion, right now. That's where I stand right now, because it would be a clear choice. We'd have such a division between these candidates that people would know there is a difference. It will make a difference. If we have a Hillary Clinton or a Jeb Bush, if that's our choice, what difference does it make? Really? Hillary's term right there. What difference would it make? Both of them are progressives. Both of these candidates would lead our country down the wrong path, and I think to a path that we cannot sustain. I honestly don't think that this country could handle another 8 years of progressives. I honestly don't. So, there's that. Anyway, I want to get to a couple other things here. We've got about 15 minutes left in the program here, but I'm feeling it kind of overdrive right now. I was thinking that we were going to do a shorter show, but you know what? I enjoy talking to you guys, and I miss you guys. So anyway, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about a few different articles I've read, and then I want to get into my thoughts on Iran in regards to this nuclear deal, and then my thoughts on ISIS. So we're going to go over for a little bit here. So I hope you guys stick with us. If you guys are on Haywire Gulch, feel free to stay tuned. I believe Patriot News is next, coming up. And if you would like to continue listening to our show, you can do so one of two ways. It's either at OnTheMoveShow.com. That's our hub. That's where we have everything there. Or you can go to Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. And if you go there, I'd just like to ask you guys as a request. I would really, really, really appreciate it if you would follow me on there. That means a whole lot. The more people we have on there, it makes it look bigger. Maybe one day we're going to try it. Right now, I've kind of been holding off on getting like real paying sponsors, because I don't want to browbeat you guys. I do not want you guys to feel like you're getting beaten over the head, with advertisements and things like that. But especially in a situation where we're still kind of a small show. We get a few hundred listens every episode or something, but we're a small show. So with that in mind, I feel like we're a pretty tight community. So what I want to do is when we get a little bit bigger and we start making maybe some more imprints in our digital footprint, or so to speak, so we can show the analytics. I want to be able to show any potential person who would like to advertise on our show. I'd like to be able to show them, hey, look, this is how many people listen to the program, and I also want to pick products that are something that I support, because you guys aren't going to catch me, telling you to buy something that I don't believe in. I'm just not going to do it. I refuse to tell you guys to spend money, your hard-earned money, on something that I haven't, number one, tested out or endorsed myself personally. So, if you guys hear an advertisement on this show, know that it's something that I've personally used and that I would endorse. But the kind of analytics that are necessary to get these kind of sponsors and things like that, you got to be able to show, what kind of following you have. So how many listens did your podcast get? How many subscribers do you have? How many followers do you have? How many of all this stuff? And when you start being able to show these to your sponsors, you can kind of make money off of this. And that's the goal one day. Just so you guys know, I hope to one day be able to do this as a job. I would love to be able to talk to you guys I would love to do a Monday through Friday show. If this could somehow turn into a business, that would be amazing. This is what I hope to do, and even still, I love doing it so much that it doesn't even matter if it pays or not. But unfortunately, I can't dedicate 5 days a week to this right now because it doesn't pay the bills. So, but anyway. Without further ado, we're going to cut to one of those commercial breaks I was talking about, and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk more about, on the other side, we're going to talk about Iran, ISIS. We're going to talk about my ideas as far as for what I believe we should do to answer to the situation with ISIS and just terrorism in general, the war on terror. And anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break. Do not go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
Welcome back. My name is Mack Worley III. If you're just joining the program, first of all, where were you? We've been waiting on you this whole time, and it's just kind of rude when we're sitting here waiting for you and you just don't show up until 9 minutes until the end of the program. So I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with you. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to get involved. You guys are awesome. Thank you again. I'm just going to say thank you like 5 more times. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know how many that was, but thank you. You guys are awesome. Okay, so let's go. I got some stories for you here. I want to get to some of these things. I think these are crazy. First story, let's get right at it. This one's for Aaron out there in listener land because I know he wants to hear some more of this stuff. So first of all, this is the freethoughtproject.com and a story April 10th, 2015 by J. Syramopoulos. I can't say that word. Syramopoulos? Something like that? All right. School nurse refuses to treat child as punishment for sitting down during the Pledge of Allegiance. What? Okay, so this is a really insane story, and this is in Pennsylvania. In a blatant violation of an 8th grade student's constitutional rights, a school nurse at Wilson Middle School refused to provide care for a student. The care was denied after the student, who was seated in the nurse's office awaiting treatment, exercised her right not to stand as a Pledge of Allegiance was played over the school's intercom. The student, upset by having her constitutional rights summarily violated, contacted the American Humanist Association. In a letter sent to the school district, the AHA Apagabagani, I don't know what that is, Humanist Legal Center wrote. All right, this is a letter from them. So, first of all, before I read this, humanist? What the heck is a humanist? I'm guessing that a humanist is somebody who's into humans? Like the protection of humans, or since we're on the line here, let's actually look up what a humanist is. Humanist is a philosophical and ethical stance that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings, individually and collectively, and generally prefers critical thinking and evidence, rationalism, empiricism, over established doctrine or faith. So basically, it is the antithesis of religion, basically, is what they're basically saying. So they're anti-religious, maybe atheist, something along those lines. That's what I'm understanding out of that, the gist. So anyway, according to the letter that the Humanist Legal Center wrote, as you should know, the rights of students to opt out of Pledge Allegiance participation was long settled ago by the United States Supreme Court in West Virginia BD, Board of Education v. Barnett, 319 U.S. 624 1943. Consequently, any actions by her school infringing upon that right would be actionable as a serious constitutional violation. For personal reasons, the student in question does not wish to participate in the exercise in any manner. On Thursday, April 2nd, she happened to be at the nurse's office when the school's Pledge of Allegiance took place. The school nurse ordered everyone present to stand up, but this student remained seated as she typically does. She reports that subsequently, when it was her turn to be seen by the nurse asked loudly, "Why didn't you stand up for the pledge?" The student replied that the pledge exercise is voluntary and that no explanation for opting out was needed. Shockingly, the nurse responded by ordering her out of the room, yelling, "Fine, then leave. I have the right not to service you." So, all right. So, first of all, let me just point out here. Let's talk about rights in general here. We've got about 5 minutes left of the program on Haywire Gulch, but we're going to continue on an overdrive. So, fret not, listeners out there. First of all, this is a pledge of allegiance. Okay, so we are pledging our allegiance to a flag. All right, and I have no problem with this, but I need to. Okay, this is just like the hero worshiping thing. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging when people perform heroic actions or do things that are heroic or great things. You know, like even, you know, I always mention this one here. Dr. Martin Luther King. He was a great man. He did many, many, many great things. Okay, however, he was human. He made mistakes. He made bad decisions. He did some things that weren't considered moral, like, for example, cheating on his wife. So, though I'm not judging, I'm not casting judgment on his bad actions that he's done, he is not perfect. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. That is the key. You cannot assume that people cannot make mistakes, and that's why I'm against hero worshiping. This is kind of a similar thing. So, we're talking about, you know, the difference between patriotism and nationalism, all right, to where it's mandated patriotism. You have to stand up and say, you know, you pledge this allegiance. It's not a free and voluntary action, which it actually is. According to the Supreme Court, we do have the right to opt out of these things. These are voluntary pledges that we don't have to do. We don't have to pledge allegiance to the flag. We have that right to say, no, I'm going to abstain. So let's talk about the rights of the nurse. Does a nurse have the right to say, I have the right to refuse service to you? Well, okay, kind of and no. All right, so let's talk about it. She has the right to quit her job. You can quit, all right? You don't have to do your job. You have the right to do whatever you want to do as a free human being. You could just, okay, well, if this job requires me to provide service to this individual, then, and I don't want to, I can quit my job or suffer the consequences for not servicing this person. However, this is a public employee. This nurse, I'm assuming, is paid by the school, and the school, if it's a public school, is paid by taxpayers. So her service is not optional. It's not something that she can just deny to somebody because she doesn't like what they think. That's not a service that she can deny without being in violation of that individual's rights, because that individual is already paid for the service. Maybe not the kid, but the family. The family is paying for this service. They've already paid for it. You can't deny them something they've already paid for. It's public money. Everybody has paid that stuff. So you can't deny it unless you quit your job. So I think that this woman should be fired. And let's see what happened. I don't know what happened at the end of this. This disturbing outburst by the school's nurse left the child in tears. In an effort to call her mom, the student left the nurse's office to go to the administrative offices. A secretary assisted the girl to an office when the nurse reappeared, stating, She isn't calling a parent until I have a long conversation with her. David Noyes, a legal director of the American Humanist Association, in reference to the 1943 case, West Virginia State Board of Education v. Barnett, said the U.S. Supreme Court has affirmed that public school students have the unequivocal right to opt out of participation in the Pledge of Allegiance exercise. Excuse me. There is no excuse for a school staff member to humiliate and bully a student who chooses to exercise this right, and the nurse's refusal to service the student is particularly egregious. The document from the AHA goes on to state, at this point, a school counselor arrived and took the student to his office, where the student remained for 2 class periods. Though she showed some sympathy, he also incorrectly instructed the student that she should stand in the hallway if she does not wish to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The student politely tried to explain that she is under no obligation to stand in the hallway as such, to which the counselor replied that it was district policy, apparently unaware that district policy does not trump federal law. And I am seeing now we have less than 1 minute left in the broadcast on haywiregulch.com. So I want to bid you guys farewell on Haywire Gulch. And those of you who are still listening, we're going to continue in the overdrive hour. And we're going to pick up on the rest of this story when we get back from a break. So first and foremost, thanks for sticking with us, guys. And for those of you over at Haywire Gulch, stay tuned for Patriot News. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week. At this point, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. And we'll be right back with the rest of this article on the other side.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
All right, we're back. Let's just pick it up where we left off here. We were talking about this the school nurse that denied her services to a student who was in her office, and she did not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, so she decided she was going to withhold her medical services to the student. So anyway, I was talking about some of these letters that the AHA, the American Humanist Association, I think is what it is, was writing to the school. The letter demands that all students and staff in the district be advised that students may remain seated during the pledge recitation. Can't say that word. Additionally, they want all staff to be instructed that they must not, under any circumstance, attempt to persuade students to refrain from exercising their right to opt out of the pledge, nor can they characterize doing so as wrongful, and that no student should be disciplined for exercising this right. The letter also demands that the school offer a written apology to the student. Monica Miller of the AHA made an extremely accurate assessment of the situation when stating, the actions of the nurse are indefensible, as she provides an example of the kind of overzealous, dangerous patriotism that any true patriot would loathe. The student was left angry and scarred by this mean-spirited hostility, which is only made worse by the fact that it came from a person trusted with the health and well-being of students. Moreover, the nurse's refusal to give the child medical attention calls into question her fitness for the job. For this child to be treated in such a demeaning way for simply exercising an affirmed constitutional right is shocking to the conscience. No one should ever be forced into mandatory displays of allegiance to any state nor God. If you think that the government has no business denying individuals their freedom to exercise their own religious beliefs or lack thereof and indoctrinating kids into nationalist religious endeavors, please share this with a friend. That's on the Free Thought Project. Again, articles written by J. Simeropoulos, something like that. And the title of the article is School Nurse Refuses to Treat Child as Punishment for Sitting Down During the Pledge of Allegiance. So, anyway, I think this is particularly egregious. I think it's kind of along the same lines. We're getting kind of a blurred line between patriotism and nationalism. And you also have to remember that Hitler was running the Nationalist Socialist Party, Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party. So nationalism is not a good thing. And forcing people to pledge allegiance is really kind of a silly act, I think, because the whole concept is that you want people to pledge their allegiance, and allegiance is something given, not demanded. So you can't force somebody to provide their allegiance, at least not really. I mean, people, you can make them say it, but that doesn't mean they're actually loyal. Loyalty is earned, not demanded, not given, not forcibly given anyway, or taken. So without further ado, I want to get to the next topic here. And I want to talk about this Iran nuclear deal. First of all, I'm against it. I think this is a horrible idea. I think we need to continue sanctions on these people. And honestly, I think it's not going to matter what we do unless we're willing to do something, like actually take action, military action, from preventing them from getting nuclear weapons. Now, the question is, do we really want to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons? And I think most of you would agree, maybe I'm wrong, that they shouldn't, because it's not like we're just trying to control nuclear weapons because we're big old jerks and we want to keep it for ourselves and things like that. With the situation with Iran, it is a very unique circumstance because these people actually believe that it is their mission to wipe Israel off the face of the map. All right, Israel is little Satan and we're big Satan to them. These are their words, not mine. So they smile and say that they'll do things, and even still, they'll say that they'll do things behind our back. So but one big thing about this negotiation that they made clear is that Israel will be wiped off the map, and that is non-negotiable. So for me, this is just my personal opinion. I believe that if you're sitting down at a table trying to negotiate, one of the requirements for continued negotiation should be, in my personal opinion, that is actually on the table. Let's talk about you wanting to annihilate and completely wipe our closest ally off the map, because that's a strategic ally of theirs. If you attack them, we will attack you. So let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion. And if they're not willing to discuss this, then we shouldn't be negotiating with them. We're negotiating from a position of weakness. And as far as negotiating is concerned, you never want to do that. It's like hostage taking. Okay, you've all heard this the saying. You want to take a hostage that the person that you're coercing or ransoming doesn't want you to kill. So, for example, these people, Iran, they want a conflict. They want a conflict with Israel, and they don't want to have a conversation about it. They don't want these negotiations. The Obama administration wants these negotiations more than the Iranians do. It means more to them than the Iranians. And on top of all of this, on top of these negotiations, something that they don't want, they don't care about, it's a joke to them, it's a stall tactic so that they can get more time, so they can get these nuclear weapons, which is what will happen. First of all, it will happen at this rate. But let's mention the fact that the president can't just unilaterally sign treaties. So this has no authority. Congress has to be involved, and Congress will not sign this treaty. So this has no force of law. It's just the president signing something that's not factual. I'm sorry, not factual. It's not legally binding. And then if another president gets in there and decides he doesn't want to honor this, he has no obligation to. So, for example, if a Ted Cruz gets in the office, you can bet that he's not going to honor this thing. And what does it matter at that point? This is all optics. That's what it is. It want to look good on paper, but it is not going to matter in the long run because it doesn't mean anything. It's not legally binding. So for them, if it's not legally binding for us and they don't give a crap about it, what is going to happen with the Senate? What does all this huffing and puffing about this deal matter? For them, all it is it'll buy us more time. They can string us along, and it'll buy them more time, Iran, to get these nuclear weapons. And once that happens, the game is changed. We're not talking about the same game anymore. We can't bully Iran when they have nuclear weapons. Just like we don't bully North Korea now that they have nuclear weapons. It changed the game. That was lessons learned from North Korea. That's what Iran is learning here. If they could drag this out until they are actually capable of developing nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach targets in America or, heck, even the postage stamp called Israel, which it's tiny. It's a tiny little dot on a map. There's no way that even one nuclear attack would be able to be absorbed by Israel without totally collapsing the government, essentially. There wouldn't be much left of Israel. So the annihilation of Israel from a nuclear Iran is actually possible and more likely probable. And these people actually, as part of their religious beliefs, they believe that their imam will come back, rise out of the ashes from a world on fire, and it's their job to hasten the return of the imam. Very scary stuff. There was a time in history when there's this thing called mutually assured destruction, where if you try to shoot us with your nuclear weapons, we'll shoot you with our nuclear weapons, and then we all die. It's mutually assured destruction, so it's bad for everybody. But this doesn't exist in terms of Iran. So it's very scary situation. But I want you guys to hear from somebody on the front lines. All right, Benjamin Netanyahu. All right, he's Prime Minister of Israel. So he offered some suggestions Sundays for a way to improve the current framework agreement over the Iran nuclear program. And I want to just give you his words on it. So here he is.
In the last few days, Iran has shown again why it can't be trusted. Iran insists on maintaining its formidable nuclear capabilities with which it could produce nuclear weapons. Iran insists on removing all sanctions immediately. And Iran refuses to allow effective inspections of all its suspect facilities. At the same time, Iran continues its unbridled aggression in the region and its worldwide terrorism in the world. So let me reiterate again the two main components of the alternative to this bad deal. First, instead of allowing Iran to preserve and develop its nuclear capabilities, a better deal would significantly roll back these capabilities. For example, by shutting down the illicit underground facilities that Iran concealed for years from the international community. Second, instead of lifting the restrictions on Iran's nuclear facilities and program at a fixed date, a better deal would link the lifting of these restrictions to an end of Iran's aggression in the region, its worldwide terrorism, and its threats to annihilate Israel. Iran needs a deal more than anyone. Instead of making dangerous concessions to Iran, now is the time for the international community to reassert and fortify its original demands for a better deal. We must not allow Iran, the foremost sponsor of global terrorism, to have an easy path to nuclear weapons, which will threaten the entire world. Thank you.
I have to agree with that. We are acting like we need this deal more from the Obama administration. We need it. Oh, we need this deal. Look, if we can get the stability in the Middle East, we'll be the ones to make peace in the Middle East. Woohoo! they don't care about the long-term outcome of this. The Obama administration doesn't care because they won't be in power, so to speak, anyway, to be responsible for the outcome of Iran getting these nuclear weapons and using them to murder thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, maybe. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? But it will ensure chaos in the region if Iran gets nukes. And suddenly we'll have to change the way that we deal with them. I don't know what Israel's reaction is going to be. Israel has said that they will not allow another Holocaust of their people. I don't blame them. I wouldn't either. The fact is that Iran does need relief. And we've already relieved most of the sanctions to begin with. But here's the thing. Why? Why are we doing anything? They are in the position of weakness. We need to just turn the screws on them, as far as I'm concerned, and get them to stop their nuclear development. Yeah, okay, yeah. We're only using this this nuclear development here for energy, right? That's what they say. They tell us it's about energy, but in order to come to the table, they just want to make it clear that Israel will be wiped off the map. That's non-negotiable. So, as far as I'm concerned, if they're in the position of weakness, their economy's in a bad spot. If we turn the screws and make it even worse and make them feel the pain for not playing ball, then maybe we can get them to make the concessions that we need them to. But that's just my opinion. So, anyway, I want to move forward here actually and talk about the situation with ISIS and moreover, just really, I want to talk about terrorism in general and our response to terrorism, okay? Because a lot of people think that the only way that you can really respond to terrorism is through military force, okay? So, and that's something that I actually wholeheartedly disagree with. And I was actually tasked in one of my college classes that I'm taking to actually write a paper on alternatives to military force. I figured I'd run this by you guys and see what you thought, see how I'm doing on this. But, this doesn't work in all cases, okay? In some cases, there are real needs and real uses for war. Not all cases, though. So, anyway, I'm going to read the rough draft I have of this paper to you guys, and you guys get my take on this, and I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. So, this is alternatives to military force. First of all, what is the purpose of war? That's something that we need to be asking ourselves. According to Karl von Clausewitz, author of the book On War, the institution of war itself is a political tool and a means to political ends. In other words, war is a tool that societies use to accomplish political goals. For example, the concept of total war, the object is to destroy the enemy by any means possible. But that may lead to mass casualties inflicted upon civilian populations, which is why civilized societies avoid conducting war in this manner. The purpose of conflict in modern times has shifted to preventing the loss of life and protecting national interest. However, tactics developed and implemented must adapt to the current threats in order to be effective at accomplishing the desired outcome. There is a common saying in the military that generals always prepare to fight the last war. And this means that all too often generals do not change their tactics when entering a new and different style of warfare, usually to their detriment. In relation to the war on terror, military force abroad is the most commonly accepted way to prevent terrorism. However, there are alternatives which may be more effective at keeping American interests safe and deterring threats to the homeland if implemented properly. So that's my opening paragraph here. I'm going to go through and read you the rest of it. And basically, I'm going to make an argument for the cases where armed conflict may not necessarily be the best option. So anyway, here we go. It is important to note that there are many alternatives to armed conflict or military force. Some of these alternatives are more effective than others, and usually their effectiveness is dependent upon the desired outcome and the threat faced. We've all heard the old saying that there is more than one way to skin a cat. In terms of reaching political goals, this old adage is true. However, even though some tactics may eventually accomplish the desired task, there may be other tactics that are much more effective and less costly. For example, some alternatives to military force are nonviolent struggle, heart and mind campaigns, and economic sanctions. Concerning the threat of terrorism, the above-mentioned alternatives to military force are largely ineffective at producing a desirable outcome. A nonviolent struggle is better suited for targeting large regimes and would likely not be very effective at combating terrorism. Regarding the use of a hearts and minds campaign, this could produce results if it managed to win over a local population that was on the fence about what side of a conflict to support. However, when dealing with radical terrorists, it is unlikely that public relation campaigns will have much effect on their resolve. Now, I just want to note here, I'm going to stop the paper for 1 second. I want to note here that this is an attempt that the Obama administration is trying to make, saying, oh, we need to create more jobs over there. The guy can't create jobs here in America, but yet he thinks he can create jobs in another country and convince radical terrorists to join their side. Right. Anyway, let's continue on. Radical terrorists have likely already made up their minds and will be less susceptible to this kind of action. Economic sanctions are essentially useless when combating the threat of terrorism because sanctions are meant to economically punish nations. Unless sanctions are being targeted at state sponsors of terrorism, they are not an option. And even in this case, they have major limitations. With this in mind, responses to threats must be catered to each specific threat, and strategy must be developed to reach the desired objectives. National security threats are ever-changing. Terrorists continue to develop new tactics, and it is becoming more difficult to respond effectively to the threat that they pose via military force than it used to. According to Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jake Johnson, there are individuals living in the United States with connections to the Islamic State who wish to commit acts of terror on U.S. soil. This information is even more concerning when combined with the fact that there were 445,000 illegal entries into the United States across the southern border in fiscal year 2010. The Border Patrol has reported that out of those 445,000, about 45,000 are immigrants coming from countries other than Mexico. All right, so 445,000. Oh my God, yeah, 445,000 illegal entries into the country. It's almost 500,000 people coming into the country illegally, and out of that, 45,000 immigrants coming from countries other than Mexico. Let's go on. In today's world, it would seem unwise to fight wars abroad at the cost of American blood and fortune while leaving the homeland completely vulnerable to attack. If this many illegal entries can be conducted in a single year, how difficult would it be for a terrorist to come to America? In addition to that, how difficult would it be for them to bring a weapon of mass destruction with them? Out of the more than 100 or so nations that these immigrants originate from, at least 4 are state sponsors of terrorism, such as Iran, for example. And they just so happen to be working on a nuclear deal right now. So, that is problematic, right? The threats that America faces at home are real and legitimate. The urgency to secure the border has never been more critical to national security than it is right now. In a speech given by John McCain, and I know that's laughable, on foreign policy and national security in 1999, he said, "Proliferations of weapons of mass destruction is probably the most serious international problem confronting America's leaders." And though this speech is a bit dated, it is still extremely relevant. As more governments gain access to weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, the risk that one of these weapons will fall into a terrorist's hands grows exponentially. The risk that it is aggregated even more with the fact that some of these governments are trying to obtain WMDs are in fact state sponsors of terrorism, i.e., I'm talking about Iran. For example, Iran has been deemed a state sponsor of terrorism since January 19th, 1984 by the U.S. Department of State and has been actively pursuing nuclear technology. Though they lack a delivery method such as intercontinental ballistic missiles, they can easily use the insecurity of America's borders to sneak a weapon capable of producing a nuclear yield into the country. The effects of such an attack on U.S. soil would be devastating. Those in favor of the war on terror suggest that it is far better for America to combat terrorism overseas than it is for the nation to combat it at home. This school of thought is appealing, especially on an emotional level, as a citizen living in the homeland. However, it is a generalization about the nature of conflict, and it does not account for the ever-evolving landscape of the modern battlefield. As a civilized society, America abides by certain rules of war. those rules limit the kind of military response that can/should be conducted against terrorism. For example, if a known terror cell is operating in a specific city, America cannot simply carpet bomb the entire city because there will certainly be many civilian casualties. Terrorists know this limitation and they use it to their advantage. Combat in Iraq and Afghanistan has become an unconventional guerrilla war. Insurgents hide in plain sight and use the war on terror as a recruiting tool. Their organizations gain legitimacy and popularity from every battle, and they succeed in spreading terror when their attacks on the American military are reported on the news cycles around the world. Terrorists do not have rules limiting the kind of warfare they can conduct, so fighting them in this manner plays to their advantage. Additionally, conducting warfare overseas does nothing to eliminate the threats to American interest at home. Simply put, it just creates another front to fight and or get attacked on. When determining what strategies to use against an enemy, the very first task is to determine exactly what objectives one wishes to accomplish. As a civilized society, America purports to conduct war as a means to prevent human suffering, loss of life, and to protect its national interest. Now, this is important. These are points that we need to really clarify here. All right, why do we go to war, everyone? We go to war because we want to prevent human suffering, loss of life, and to protect our national interest. So different threats require different strategies in order to accomplish those objectives. However, when discussing the threat that America faces due to terrorism, one thing is clear. America is failing to accomplish these goals. As a result of the failure, terrorism is on the rise. The Middle East has been destabilized, and the threats to American interests from terrorists are at what appears to be an all-time high. With that said, how exactly has the war on terror failed to accomplish these goals? First, it has failed to prevent the loss of life, and it is actually responsible for causing far greater suffering, death, and destruction than terrorists could have ever hoped to inflict themselves. For example, on September 11, 2001, 2,792 Americans were killed in the largest terror attack on U.S. history. In U.S. history, according to the Global Terrorism Database, since 2003, there have been 25 deaths in America from terror attacks on U.S. soil. Conversely, 4,683 brave Americans died in Iraq and Afghanistan since the launch of Operation Enduring Freedom on October 7, 2001, and Operation Iraqi Freedom, which began with the invasion of Iraq on March 19, 2003. Additionally, in a study conducted by University Research in the United States, Canada, and Baghdad in cooperation with the Iraqi Ministry of Health, approximately 500,000 people have died, not only from violent deaths, but other avoidable deaths linked to the invasion, insurgencies, and subsequent social breakdown since the invasion of Iraq began in 2003. Secondly, the war on terror has not made the American homeland any safer from terrorist threats, and it has significantly drained American coffers. As of March 2015, the United States has spent approximately $1.6 trillion fighting the war on terror. That money could have been used to secure the border and upgrade the infrastructure of our power grid to withstand an electromagnetic pulse, which is a side effect of a nuclear yield or dirty bomb and would devastate the country. Congressional studies estimate that 2/3 of the U.S. population would die of starvation, disease, exposure, or violence related to social breakdown in the first 12 months alone after an EMP terror attack. Fortunately, there are options that we have yet to attempt in order to accomplish goals of saving lives and securing American interests. One of those options is securing the nation's borders. Based off information provided in H.R. 1299, the Secure Border Act, only 32% of Americans' northern border and 44% of its southwest border are under operational control or have acceptable levels of security. A second option of combating the threats that terrorism poses and has yet to be attempted is hardening the American power grid to withstand electromagnetic pulses. Doing this action will eliminate the threat that an EMP poses to 2/3 of American population, preventing countless Americans' death, immense suffering, and securing national interest. Lastly, once the border is secure, increased scrutiny should be conducted on immigrants attempting to come into America, as well as on those who are here already on temporary visas. Controlling who is allowed to come into the country is a key component of national security. All of these endeavors will be costly, but it is doubtful that it will be as costly as a never-ending war on terror. Each of these actions will bear real fruit, and verifiable fruit at that, which Americans will continue to reap for generations. So, and before I get to my outro here, I want to actually talk about another point that I've yet to insert into this thing, which is the historical use of this tactic. And this is actually a tactic. This isn't political, all right? So what I'm talking about is military strategy, okay? And this is actually something I really like. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on military strategy, but I'm capable of relating things back through historical experience, okay? So I want to talk to you guys quickly about a campaign that was conducted in ancient Rome, okay? Many of you may be familiar with it, but Hannibal. Hannibal is a really important figure when you're talking about ancient Roman history. And Rome was this huge empire. No one could touch it. No one could really mess with Rome. They were the strongest power out there, and they were kicking butt, okay? And Hannibal decided that he was going to take it. He was with the Carthaginians. He was going to take the war to the Romans. And he was a brilliant general. He was so smart, and he had all these crafty things that he did. He was really tricky, and he beat the crap out of Rome. What he did, he went across the ocean and went into Spain, came up to the Alps, and apparently word had gotten that he was coming. And gotten back to Rome, that he was coming. And they sent people out to meet him at this pass, where it was basically the only way to get to Rome is you got to go through this pass, this mountain pass, to avoid going over the Swiss Alps. And on the way to the mountains and to this pass, Hannibal was recruiting people to join the war against Rome. So he's recruiting people. He gets up. He finds out, his scouts report, okay, the Romans are waiting for you at this pass. So what did he do? He decided to do the unexpected move and cross the Swiss Alps. And a lot of people died. But when he got over those, he made it. He made it across. He started recruiting again, and they tried to cut him off again at one point, and there was a decision that they thought that he would go this way instead of that way, because that way had a really boggy swamp, and it wasn't going to be very easy to get by. So they went to the way that they thought that he would go, which is the easy way. And once again, Hannibal took the hard way, and he crossed the swamp. And actually, while crossing the swamp, he was bitten in the eye by a mosquito, and he was blind in one eye. So anyway, story goes on. There were many battles. Hannibal was winning them all. I mean, there are so many different battles that he had that he was just whooping these guys and leading them, luring them right into traps, using trickery. And he was a great leader, a great general. One of the things he actually did, it was actually interesting. He tied torches to the horns on cows or cattle or something like that, and it made it look like his men were over there. And so basically through the fog of the day that they had, it was very foggy. The Romans were looking over and they could see all these torches, and it looked like the men were there. And then they came around and attacked them from a different way. Another thing that he did is he lured the Romans into a trap, into this really narrow area, and he basically cut them off and was attacking them from both ends, and their numbers weren't worth anything. They were trapped in a very narrow spot, so there were very few Romans fighting many of Hannibal's troops. So why am I telling you this? Why does this matter in regards to the war on terror? Why does that matter? Because this is an insurgency, is essentially what it is. A very powerful army, the Roman Empire, was getting beat by an insurgency, a guerrilla war. They were, attacking the targets that were weak and vulnerable, and avoiding the ones that were really tough targets to beat. So they didn't have siege equipment, so they couldn't conduct a siege on a city that had walls. So basically, they had to attack the weaker targets, and they had to pick and choose their battles. So what happened? There was this gentleman named Fabian. and he was in charge of the Roman army at the time. They gave him power, and he became, I believe it was a consul at the time, is what Fabian was. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he created what's called the Fabian strategy. And what he decided was that we'll harvest all of our food in our fields, and then we're going to scorch the fields so that none of our supplies are left out there, and we're just going to hole up. We're going to wait inside of our cities until Hannibal starves, because there will be no food left out there for him, and we'll have all the food in here. So that's what they did. They holed up. It was called the Fabian strategy, and they just holed up, and eventually Hannibal couldn't fight. He could. They wouldn't fight him. They denied him the ability to fight, and that was what he was good at. When he fought, he won. So they denied him the fight. And in doing that, Hannibal lost. Hannibal had no choice but to leave and go back to Carthage, and there was nothing that he could do. That was why he lost. And it said, I forget who said this, it was ancient scholars, that Hannibal knew how to win battles, but not a war. And it's very true. So that is one use. Essentially, what I'm talking about is using a Fabian strategy where we secure. I don't want to be isolationist and put our head in a bubble or dig our head in the sand and act like nothing else is happening in the world. But what I will say is that it's time that we stop fighting them on their terms. Let's stop giving them a place to attack our troops. Let's stop making it so that they can pick when and how they want to fight. Let's attack them when we want to attack them, how we want to attack them. Quick, strategic. Make it so that they feel the pain. Air bombing campaigns are good and everything like that, but you're not going to win the war like that. What we need to do is inflict a war of attrition on them. This is my personal opinion. We need to hold up, bring our troops back. Let's stop having our men and women. Again, we were attacked. We're talking about the whole point of war is to save lives. Well, we were attacked on 9/11. 2,792 Americans were killed in the largest terror attack on U.S. history. And that's horrible. That's tragic. But what's made even worse is that since 2003, all right, we've only had 25 American deaths from terror attacks. And that's tragic in and of itself, 25 deaths. But it's not even that number. You take the 25 plus the 2,792 Americans that were killed in 9/11, all right, and that number is still dwarfed in comparison to just how many troops that we've lost. 4,683 troops have died in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we've already lost more now, just from the war, than we did from the attack. So now we've lost even more. And in addition to that, we've created 500,000 people who have died because of violent deaths or other avoidable deaths linked to the invasion, insurgency, and subsequent social breakdown. Since 2003, 500,000. So we're talking over 500,000 people have died because of this war. And we're trying to say that we're going to war to protect the loss of human life or human suffering and our interests. I disagree. I don't think that we need to do this. I think this goes against that concept. But anyway, my closing statement here, this is my conclusion. I'm going to add some more stuff to this. But it says, military force is not always the most effective answer to national security threats. Regarding the war on terror, by bringing the war to the terrorists, i.e. fighting them abroad, America has made it easier for its enemies to inflict casualties. In this case, a better alternative to military force would be to deny terrorists the ability to inflict casualties by securing American interest. This can be done through tighter immigration screening processes, securing the United States border, and upgrading the power grid to withstand an electromagnetic pulse attack. The cost of this endeavor will be significant. However, it can be paid for by diverting the budget spent on the war on terror abroad. By choosing to deny terrorists the ability to inflict casualties, instead of making it easier for them, lives will be spared, and that is the ultimate goal of conflict in a civilized society. And also, I just want to point out, when we're talking about the cost of this endeavor, the only one that is really going to be continually ongoing, other than just maintenance, is the immigration screening processes. That will cost more. But to secure the border, as far as like a fence and put in the physical infrastructure there, that's a one-time expenditure, other than the maintenance to keep fixing and replacing parts and things like that, and obviously to put people on the border. to actually employ people. Those costs will be going, but it won't be as big as the building project. And the ability to upgrade our power grid to withstand an electromagnetic pulse, that is a one-time thing. And maybe there will be some continued things that they would have to do as far as maintenance. But again, those are one-time expenditures mostly. The only thing that we'll continue to be spending on would be the immigration screening processes, which we should do anyway. We should make sure who's coming into our country. This is my point. Granted, this doesn't work in all cases, and I'm not saying that we should not ever use military force. There are plenty of times when we have the right, and I think in many times the obligation to use military force. However, I don't think in this specific situation that we should be involved in a war on terror, especially a never-ending war on terror. How can we win? What are the parameters that allow us to win? I think it's a complicated question, which is why I believe that it's a bad idea to go without knowing how to answer these questions. Why are we involved in a military campaign with force? I think it is a mistake. That's just me. But anyway, that's our show for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't bore you to death with this paper. I thought it would be something interesting. I was curious. Maybe it would stimulate some thought with you guys. And all of this stuff is sourced. I'd be happy to share my sources with you if you have any questions about any of these statistics I gave to you. If you aren't sure if it's accurate or anything, I'd be happy to give you the source and links to it and stuff so you can find out for yourself. And actually, because for me, seeing is believing, and I expect you guys not to just automatically assume everything I say is factual. So question me and question everything else. But anyway, at this point, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys are awesome. MacPack, thank you so much. You guys are the reason why we continue to do this show. So again, thank you. And don't forget to check us out at our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. You can also follow us on Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. I would really appreciate it if you would do that. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/OnTheMoveShow. I appreciate that as well. Like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow and follow us on Twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow. And again, I really appreciate you guys tuning in week after week. You guys are awesome. The tip of the spear. Thank you so much, MacPack. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.